Imagine loving mathematics so much that you would study them at night in the secrecy of your bedroom, deciphering words and numbers to the flickering light of a candle. Imagine for a second that studying math could be the most rebellious thing to do, the thing your parents would get really angry at you for. Imagine that, and maybe you can start to envision Sophie Germain's teenage years in the late 18th century. Instead of learning good manners and looking for a husband as her father expected her to, the young Parisian spent every minute she could secretly learning about mathematics. Sophie knew that the prestigious Polytechnique school in Paris was the best place in the world to get an education in math. But as a woman, she was barred from attending classes. So, after high school, she applied by correspondence under a male alias, Auguste Leblanc. Sophie Germain went on to become one of the most prominent French mathematicians of her time. But she did keep using that name for the rest of her career, as no one would publish a paper written by a woman, however brilliant she was. Sophie Germain and countless other women have contributed to shape an inclusive, diverse, and ambitious future for French mathematics. And the future of mathematics, specifically artificial intelligence, is what we're diving into today. Welcome to The French Teach, a podcast by Campus France, where we tell you all about French academic excellence, specifically in new, innovative, and cutting-edge fields of research and education. We'll bring to you interviews with scholars, students, alumni, entrepreneurs, researchers, and all of the voices of those who might help you orient yourself in your future career and academic choices. Contrary to Sophie Germain's father, who used to confiscate his daughter's candles in order to stop her from studying at night, most parents today would be thrilled to have a child that passionate about mathematics. In fact, some parents today clearly encourage it.
But I've always enjoyed applied mathematics because of my dad. It's obvious. I'm not going to lie. It's something that it's evidently due to my father.
This is Tina Nikuka. She's an Iranian-born French mathematician and a postdoctoral researcher in applied mathematics and computer science at ENS Paris-Saclay, just outside of Paris.
He used to create games, and the games were actually math problems. And then we did some computer science because he put it in a software. It was Scilab, I don't know for those of you who know it. And we did some modelization and simulation with Scilab. And that were my first games. You know, people usually play at Rayman or Mario Kart or they have this kind of normal games. I played the games that my dad created for me with math and computer science.
I have to admit, it was quite funny and also enlightening to hear Tina's story right after reading about Sophie Germain. The two women could not have had more opposite experiences.
I was not a good student. I liked school. I loved asking questions, but I was a bit too talkative in class. Maybe I was not encouraged to do this, and people telling me, you're good in math, you will be able to make it. It was like, you're not good elsewhere, so you have to be able to make it in mathematics.
Today, Tina's research position is at ENS Paris-Saclay. According to the Shanghai Global Ranking of 2023, the University of Paris-Saclay is the second best in the world in mathematics, out of 500 institutions. Paris-Saclay is made up of different entities, including l'ENS, which stands for École Normale Supérieure. L'ENS is what we call a grande école, literally a great school. A French specificity, grandes écoles are institutes of higher education recognized by the state. They're also research centers. L'ENS Paris-Saclay is home to no less than 14 research labs. Tina's lab is the Centre Borély, a joint research unit that brings together researchers in math, computer science, and neuroscience. We'll come back to this, but first, I wanted Tina to take me through her academic background, which, right out of high school, starts with another very French specificity.
I went to high school in Paris. In France, you have something called classe préparatoire, so preparatory classes, 2 years or three for me, to prepare the exam to get into engineering school.
Les classes préparatoires are essentially a prep course. It's designed to train students who plan to enroll in one of the grandes écoles. Tina prepped for 3 years in order to get into engineering school.
And I got into the engineering school called NCMAG, which is an engineering school specialized in applied mathematics and computer science. NCMAG is in Grenoble, in the Alps. So it's good if you want to go, if you enjoy skiing, you can go to attend your classes in the morning, and in the afternoon can go skiing.
Grenoble is situated in what we in French call a cuvette, a basin at the foot of the French Alps, which means wherever you stand on the streets of Grenoble, you can look up and see the mountains. In the past years, Grenoble has several times been ranked the greenest city in Europe. Its waters are among the purest in France, and it is indeed an ideal location for skiing. We could also spend hours discussing Grenoble's incredible traditional French culinary heritage, but it would unfortunately be besides the point of this episode. Something you should know, however, about the Alpine city is that it does have a reputation as a scientific research and innovation hotspot, especially in electronics, digital technologies, and computer science. The Grenoble area is home to the biggest hardware and software, microelectronics, and nanotechnology industries in France. In 2018, Grenoble was chosen as one of the 4 cities to host new government-founded artificial intelligence research institutes, and its engineering school, NCMAG, ranks as the best computer science school in the country.
I really recommend this school. It was a great experience. I actually realized it even more today because it's a school where I think even maybe it's like 100% of the teachers are what is called here enseignants-chercheurs. So they are teachers and researchers. They do their research on the side, and they do teaching because they enjoy that. So in computer science, they don't teach you this language or the other language. They teach you how to write an algorithm. They teach you how to think, how to be able to write, to talk to the computer if you want. So usually when you have NCMAG students that are looking for a job, any language is okay for them, any computer science problem is okay for them, and any field is okay for them. Even if in the school we have several subjects, you can choose. So in the second year, you can choose to be more focused on applied mathematics. That's what I did. Or on finance, because, there's a lot of computer science and mathematics in finance. It's a good way of living afterwards. They earn big money. And you can also work in more computer science and, for example, do development in robots or in the phones or connected objects, IoT and things like that. So it's quite broad. For me, and not just for me, because there were some articles that came out last week, it's the best computer science school in France.
After graduating from NCMAG and from a research master's degree in applied mathematics from the University of Grenoble, Tina started thinking about moving back to Paris. She wanted to be closer with her family during her PhD. And that's when she got the opportunity to pursue her passion in image processing.
Image processing, computer vision, there are topics, a joint topic between applied mathematics and computer science. And what people nowadays call artificial intelligence, AI. Image processing can be creating algorithms to create an image. So when you correct the white balance of an image, compress an image, all of these algorithms are image processing. But it's also the field of having algorithms to detect objects in images, to analyze images, to apply filters to images. And the images can be medical images, satellite images, or traditional photography, or other types of any image, anything that is visual. It can be it, and also videos. We always say image, but video is also in image processing. So what I did during my PhD is I worked on forgeries. So you have a picture and it has been forged by someone like with Photoshop. And then it has been posted on social media. And I created in my PhD 3 different algorithms, but one of them is not so bad, that it is used actually worldwide through Agence France Presse, so AFP's tool, which is a tool that you can all download for free and use on your computer. So today people, when they use this tool, they can click on an image and test the forensic, we call this image forensics, and apply different filters that will reveal areas in the image that have been forged. So this is what I do. So I work with journalists. I give also classes to journalists to learn how to use these tools, but also learn how to analyze images, because we will never have tools that are perfect and that are able to tell you this is real, this is fake. I'm here to create tools to help you understand, analyze images. I also work with the police. And in France, we have also the gendarmerie. It's actually CSI. They call themselves, they told me we are like CSI Miami, but better. So I work with them.
Tina Nikuka has become an incredibly promising French researcher. In 2022, she was among 35 winners of the L'Oréal UNESCO Young Talent Award for Women in Science, chosen out of 660 candidates. She and a few others have tackled a field of research that, although quite niche, is incredibly important for our future. In a time of social media, deepfakes, and Photoshop, having AI-based fact-checking tools is essential. You're listening to The French Teach, a podcast by Campus France. You might have noticed that Tina doesn't use the term artificial intelligence. To her, this is all just stronger, better, faster mathematics and computer science.
I think what people call AI, and they say that we need to be leaders in AI, they talk about all of these learning-based methods, because people now have a lot of data, which is different from before. They have a lot of data and they have a lot of processing strength. We have supercomputers in Saclay. We have supercomputers in Paris. There are some. So this is the difference. And this is also what I think it could be an issue maybe for the future, is that there are a lot of people wanting to work in AI. So there are taking courses that are called AI for management, AI for marketing, AI for voilà. But they forget that AI is just computer science and math. And there are lots of new students, new even engineers that arrive that want to do AI, and they apply algorithms without knowing how they work. I always say they are heating pools, swimming pools, because some of the data centers are under swimming pools, but they are doing that instead of maybe like going into the real issue. Today, since there are lots of tools, AI tools that are unbelievable, I understand the appeal. You see ChatGPT, even if you want to create a small robot that tells you, hello, do you want your salt or pepper with this? You will use ChatGPT because it's able to do that, but you don't have to use ChatGPT to do that. So that's something that I think should be mentioned, that people should remember that, well, for the planet, maybe think before training all these methods again and again. And also, people should not forget that it's only doing mathematics.
France has always been a leading force in mathematics. In 2022, French mathematician Hugo de Ménilcopin was awarded the Fields Medal for his work on probability, which brought to 13 the number of French mathematicians awarded. France is the second country with most medals after the United States. On top of this, France has some of the best places to get a higher education in math in the world. QS University rankings of 2024 show 4 French universities and grandes écoles featured in the global top 20 for math: Sorbonne University, Paris-Saclay, Paris Sciences et Lettres, and Polytechnique Paris. And if, as Tina Nikuka was saying, AI is only really just mathematics with a lot more processing strength, It only makes sense that France also has some of the best AI research programs in the world.
So I'm Usama Boussif. I'm Moroccan from a city called El Jadida. And currently I'm a second year PhD student at Montreal Institute of AI. It's called MILA. And I'm supervised by Professor Yoshua Bengio.
Usama Boussif's supervisor, leading AI expert and computer scientist Yoshua Bengio, is known for his pioneering work on deep learning. In 2018, he was awarded what's considered to be the Nobel Prize of Computing, the Alan Turing Award, with two other very big names, British-Canadian computer scientist Geoffrey Hinton and French-American computer scientist Yann LeCun.
Yoshua Bengio, and my interests are around using AI to accelerate scientific discovery. I did what's called preparatory classes. It's known as class prépa in Morocco and France. So I did it in Morocco for 2 years in Benghazi. It's called the Lycée d'Excellence. And then after that, I did my engineering school at Centrale Paris. And then for my master's, I did it at École Normale Supérieure of Paris-Saclay.
Can you tell me a little bit about the MVA Masters?
So the master's degree specifically is called MVA, in short, Mathématiques Visant Apprentissage, or Mathematics Vision and Learning. And it was a master's done in partnership with the Centrale as well. And so we had a great panel of professors who are already world-renowned researchers. So it was a good experience. And the curriculum was also very great. I had the opportunity to learn about a lot of things. It happened during COVID, but it was still an enriching experience. And I would recommend it to anyone who wants to go into the AI field.
The master's Usama has just graduated from has been known for years for the quality of its curriculum. And specifically in Silicon Valley, where its alumni apparently have very little trouble finding jobs. And so why did you choose research?
So research is something that I wanted to do, I think, from high school. I knew I wanted to do research. It was not clear that I wanted to do it in AI, because before that, I was really set on doing research in theoretical physics, because it's a subject that I liked. And just in general, I like research for the freedom you get, I guess freedom of creativity that you get, and the fact that you get to spend a lot of time on some problem and get to explore it fully instead of just jumping from one thing to another. What I wanted to do initially was to work in what's called reinforcement learning, which is, you teach AI to do things by giving it rewards, kind of like you have like a dog and you want to train that dog, then you just give them like food if they do what you want, otherwise you don't. And then it's like, you reinforce their behavior towards what you want them to achieve. But then Yoshua proposed another direction, which is to go for scientific, applications. And now I'm looking into making AI models that can take data and generate what's called like theories, to explain that data. For example, physics, you get formulas, E equals mc squared is such a formula. You can also call it theory. And the goal is to discover these kind of things. And, they're interpretable to the human researchers, so they can use it and, use it to help them explore and discover more scientific advances. It's not meant to replace scientists, but more as a helper.
I was going to ask, because the conversation right now is very much about not letting AI replace humans. So how does that work for the scientific field?
Well, we're very far from I believe it's we're not really there yet in terms of AI models that can discover new things. Just give them, let them think and come up with new stuff. Some models have been released where they can show and prove theorems. I think DeepMind managed to do that recently, but giving them data and just coming up with new stuff, I don't think we're there yet. So what we can do is propose theories. They might be wrong, but some might be true, but at least this human scientist can look at that and say, oh, this makes sense. Let us go into that path and just see where it's gonna lead us.
So where do you see yourself in the future? Like what short-term or long-term things would you like to achieve?
So I guess the short term would be to successfully defend my PhD thesis. After that, I have to admit I'm a bit torn between staying in research or maybe not staying in research and doing something else. Currently, it's not really clear in my mind. I mean, I thought it was clear from the beginning that I wanted to keep on researching AI. I still want to do that, but I don't know in which capacity. Would it be in an academic institution or in a company or something like that? Yeah, that's the big question mark for me right now. I know that after the PhD, I want to stay like maybe 3 or so years here in Montreal and then change to somewhere else. But for now, I'm not really sure where that would be.
You're listening to The French Teach, a podcast by Campus France. French excellence in mathematics has been revered worldwide for centuries. Nowadays, academia and public powers are pushing to build a similar ecosystem of excellence for French artificial intelligence. Even French President Emmanuel Macron is clear on his objectives. It is a race, and France wants to be a leader in it. The good news is, being great at math gives France a powerful head start.
You know, France has a long tradition of excellence in many branches of mathematics, including probability theory. I mean, the chair that I held in Paris, the chair Blaise Pascal, is named after Pascal, who was probably the main person who put probability on the map as a mathematical discipline.
This is Stuart Russell. He's a world-renowned computer scientist and an expert on AI. His publications are not only highly regarded in the scientific world, but also accessible to the general public. Originally from the UK, he's now a professor of computer science at the University of California, Berkeley, near San Francisco. And he has a long-standing connection with France, including holding the Blaise Pascal International Chair of Excellence from 2012 to 2014, which enables international researchers to be hosted by higher education and research institutions in the Paris region.
And I have a lot of connections there with academia, with government, and I'm currently president of the jury that is choosing the new institutes for artificial intelligence that the French government will fund.
Remember how Grenoble was chosen to host one of 4 new AI research institutes? This is part of a wider campaign from the French government to ensure France's head start turns into a real ecosystem across the country.
So I think the areas of AI where France has excelled include robotics, which is based on mechanics and geometry and control theory, and computer vision, which was also partly based on geometry and partly on signal processing. So these are quite mathematical areas, and France has been traditionally very strong there. And so I think some of the programs in places like Paris and Toulouse, specifically for robotics, and Paris for computer vision are really, really strong. And I think you can get excellent training there. I would say that another development that's been really important, but so far mostly separate from AI, is the development of formal methods in computer science. So formal methods means the techniques for analyzing computer programs and proving that those computer programs are correct, and also synthesizing new computer programs that are guaranteed to be correct for the task that you're interested in. Artificial intelligence is about making machines intelligent. What is intelligent behavior? How do we make a machine intelligent? In the very earliest days of the field, there was a lot of confusion about that. Some people thought it meant imitating a human. But the notion that became the central approach to AI was borrowed from economics and philosophy. It was this idea of rational behavior, that an intelligent entity always has a purpose or a goal, or an objective, and it's intelligent to the extent that its actions can be expected to achieve that objective. If you want to have dinner, but instead you bang your head on the wall, that's not intelligent because it doesn't get you dinner. So for most of the history of the field, that's how we've proceeded. And to turn that idea into programs is a mathematical problem.
From what I gather, as a non-mathematician myself, France has been very good at creating computer programs making sure machines were not, in fact, banging their heads on the wall, especially when they're responsible for people's security, which, as we all know, happens more and more.
For example, the software that controls the Paris metro has been fully verified, so we know that it's going to work. It's not going to crash two trains together or anything like that. And all of the avionics in Airbus airplanes is fully verified, so that we know that it's not going to cause the plane to crash, and so on. So these are going to be increasingly important for AI systems as well, right? That we actually have formal guarantees. And the reason you want it for the metro or the airplane is because a crash could be killing hundreds of people. But a catastrophe with AI systems that misbehave could be far worse than that, because among other things, AI systems interact with billions of people every day. So I'm hoping that we'll see at least very strong collaborative relationships grow up between the formal methods community in France and the AI community. And that's an area where I think there'll be increasing demand from industry. Industry is very excited about large language models and so on and how they could use them, but then they find that they can't trust them.
Stuart Russell's work has focused on advocating for safer AI, and that includes everything from fighting against deepfakes and fake images, encouraging the type of work Tina Nikuka is doing, to standing up against lethal autonomous weapon systems, AI weapons, currently used in warfare, which Stuart Russell considers a threat to humanity.
For a long time, artificial intelligence has mostly happened in the lab, and mostly not very successfully. AI researchers have just been focused on how on earth do we make systems more intelligent, right? And how do we cope with the massive complexity of the world? How do we cope with all of the richness of human language, and so on? These were really difficult problems, and progress was very slow. So in the last 10 years, and even more specifically in the last 2 years, we've started to see breakthrough after breakthrough where many of those problems that we used to think were impossible are now basically solved. And that means that AI has very quickly moved into a position where it's affecting geopolitical competition, where the investments in research and development in industry are now dwarfing the investments in every other sector of technology in the world. And that means that there's now a huge requirement for people to understand that impact and to try to guide it in positive directions. And we've already seen, just to take one very simple example, social media, the AI algorithms that are deployed by the social media platforms, such as Facebook or YouTube, are incredibly influential on the fabric of our society and the lives of individuals and how people relate to each other, and our democratic system are being affected in ways that were completely unanticipated. And that's because all of those decisions about how to do these things were made by people who just have a technical background, no training in ethics, no training in understanding social impact in sociology, in jurisprudence, in moral philosophy, all of these areas. So AI is rapidly becoming ground zero for the impact of technology on society. And really, we need deep thinkers in all of these areas to make sure that things go well in the future.
Does that mean having a more transdisciplinary approach, even in the way AI and applied mathematics are taught?
Yes, it involves, I, for example, just before this meeting, I was talking to somebody in Korea whose background is in jurisprudence. So they have a PhD in law and they want to figure out how to regulate AI successfully. So yeah, we are seeing lots of these conversations, but I also think it means that AI researchers themselves have to have a better understanding of the moral and social implications of what they're doing, what we call the socio-technical embedding of what happens when you take an algorithm and then plunk it into some real social context. What impact is that going to have on people? What impact are the people going to have on the algorithm? Because the people will also adjust, and then the inputs that the algorithm receives will be changing over time as a result. So it's a new world for computer scientists who actually have to think about these things.
In that regard, do you believe it also helps that we have a more and more diverse field where more women and people with different backgrounds can actually participate in shaping these tools? I remember reading articles about how researchers were finding that algorithms were sometimes prejudiced against women or minorities.
What happens, of course, is that the data typically reflect the society that is generating that data. So if you look at data on who gets hired in computer programming jobs, well, it's often male applicants who get hired because, first of all, there's a lot more male applicants. Many more male students focus on computer programming intensively, and so on. And there may also be biases in the decisions made by humans as to who to hire. And so the algorithm might pick up on those biases simply by trying to replicate what happened in the training data. And it's probably true that had there been more female and minority programmers and engineers working on this, they would have realized sooner that this was a problem, and they would have been measuring the biases that their algorithms were replicating.
The French Teach is a podcast brought to you by Campus France. A big thank you to our guests on this episode, Tina Nikuka, Oussama Boussif, and Stuart Russell, for kindly taking the time to answer our numerous questions. If you are an international student and would like to know more on studying in France, you can find all the information you need on campusfrance.org. That's campus, France, in one word, .org. And just so you know, other episodes of The French Teach are available wherever you get your podcasts.